What's up, gamers? Today, we're breaking down every graphics quality setting in Valorant, your ultimate guide. We'll discuss each setting's function, compare visuals, and explore performance impacts. But before we jump in, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It helps a ton. Thanks. Now, let's get started. Material quality. First up, material quality. This one has a significant impact on the game's look. Every pixel gets its color from something called a shader. Modern GPUs can run thousands of these at once. Material quality controls the complexity of these shaders. Turn it down, and Valorant uses simpler shaders, reducing GPU load and boosting FPS, but only if your GPU is the bottleneck. Please take a look at the crates and gun skins as we switch between high and low settings. At the lowest, the game looks much more straightforward. Texture quality. Next, texture quality. This setting controls how the game selects textures based on your video RAM. If you have enough VRAM, lowering the setting has little effect, but on machines with less VRAM, it'll swap to lower res textures to avoid lag. This setting doesn't drastically impact performance unless your system is running low on VRAM. Detail quality. Detail quality affects non-gameplay elements, things like environmental effects and small visuals. Check out the vines, trees, and lights in this scene. On low detail, the vines disappear, the tree becomes basic, and the light glow is gone. This setting can actually improve performance across all systems by removing unnecessary objects. For abilities like Viper's Wall, low quality removes cool visual effects like tendrils. UI quality. The UI quality is subtle but noticeable in UI elements that blur the background. Watch the green and red segments of the player portraits. On high, you get a nice blur effect, but on low, it's just transparent. This is a minor visual tweak that doesn't really impact gameplay. Vignette. The vignette darkens the screen corners to focus your attention. It's a minor detail you won't notice unless you're looking closely or comparing side by side. I don't use it, but if you're into it, feel free to leave it on. VSync. Let's discuss VSync. Unless you're experiencing screen tearing, turn it off. Screen tearing occurs when parts of two frames are shown simultaneously. VSync locks the game's FPS to your monitor's refresh rate, which fixes the tearing but adds input lag and reduces performance. If you want to cap your FPS, use the in-game frame rate limiter instead. Anti-Aliasing. Anti-Aliasing smooths out jagged edges on objects. With MSA4X, you can see how smooth the wall looks as I move my gun. Without it, the jaggies stand out. Anti-Aliasing costs some GPU performance, but I keep it on because those jagged edges distract me. Anisotropic Filtering AF. Anisotropic filtering improves texture quality at angles. When turned down, you'll notice the ground gets blurry, and the textures on your gun lose detail. This one's essential if you feel like some textures look off. Double check AF if that's the case. Improved clarity. Improved clarity boosts contrast and midtones for a sharper picture. The difference is subtle, but it's noticeable when you play. This setting requires some GPU performance, so only turn it on if your system is CPU bound. Experimental sharpening. Experimental sharpening makes edges look sharper. It's noticeable, and once you get used to it, the game feels blurry without it. It has a moderate GPU cost, so I'd recommend it for CPU-limited systems. Bloom. Bloom affects the appearance of light-emitting abilities and weapons. When it is on, 𝐊𝐴 glows. When it is off, it is flat. This effect is primarily aesthetic and doesn't change gameplay, but it adds some extraordinary flair. Distortion. Distortion warps the world around light sources, such as sniper scopes. When the effect is enabled, the text on the building becomes distorted. I find distortion distracting when I'm sniping, so I turn it off. Cast shadows. Cast shadows adds dynamic shadows to first-person weapons and arms. The environment shadows remain unaffected, and the shadows don't impact what other players see. Some angles can cause odd shadow banding, but I usually turn this off since dynamic shadows can be distracting. Multi-threaded rendering. Multi-threaded rendering improves performance on newer systems by using additional CPU cores. It doesn't affect the visuals but helps FPS by offloading some work. If your system supports it, keep it enabled for the best performance. And that's it for the graphics settings in Valorant. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Maybe a guide on getting the best performance out of Valorant, or a deep dive into input latency. Drop your ideas in the comments below. That's all for now. I'll see you guys in the following video. Thanks for watching. I am Nasir. Subscribe to my channel for the next update.